The Cross'em Wrestling Entertainment Podcast, presented by Clovercrest Media, is what you AEW fans have been looking for. Noah Cross and Tyler Bard give their take on every week's episode of Dynamite. If you are a massive AEW fan, then it is time to join us every Sunday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Stay Cross'em.
Clovercrest Media Group presents a CMG podcast, Keys to the City.
Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know.
Crossed up by Kobe, little floater to Shaq, and then Shaq goes like this, and the rest is history. Pay attention. Don't tell me what to do, Devil Woman. But speaking of those Lakers, hold on. But I didn't make I said Denver's gonna win. Yeah, you did. You said that.
There's no other show like that. Clovercrest is doing great things right now.
Streaming everywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our main event.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Throwing Jabs. We got a great show. Today is fight day for McGregor and Poirier, UFC 257, but we will get into that. Let's start off by recapping everything. But first, let's bring on Joe and Jared. What's going on, guys? We had a great fight last week with Holloway and Kattar. Now, Jared, we talked a little bit about Holloway, and you didn't think Holloway was going to be the same, but he destroyed Calvin Kattar. What did you think of the fight, Jared?
I was going to do the Jace thing where I just pretend my computer's frozen.
Oh, yeah, baby.
This didn't go like I said it would. Yeah, there's my guy that I picked there with the blood on his face. That was my guy, Max Holloway. My God, this was almost like one of those who was that guy type of performances. Even though his hit list is a who's who of the UFC, this was a different Holloway. I feel like this was a different guy. He has made positive growth and steps that, this is going to be a hard guy to beat moving forward. I mean, another Volkanovski fight is hard to see, but I don't want him moving up either. I don't know, Joe.
Look. First of all, I think Jared has left out the fact that we actually watched this fight together. And I don't mean to brag, but the fight went exactly the way I said it was going to go. And I even joked. I said that they might throw 1,000 strikes between them. Crazy how these things just come out of my head. On further review, though, I'll tell you what I do want. I do want to see the trilogy with Alexander the Great. My fear is, though, coming off the best fight of his life, when he beat Brian Ortega and nearly ended his career, it was Volkanovski next, and I just wonder if these sorts of fights maybe don't take a little too much out of Max. So I think it's important that he gets his win, it gets his rest before whatever the next fight might be or whenever it might be. I'm sure he's got to be hoping to God, though, that Ortega beats Alexander the Great, because, boy, he'd be like salivating at that point. You know who he wants there. As far as moving up, where Kattar and Poirier are, guys he lost to at featherweight and lightweight. I mean, I don't think he wants to fight them bigger. That certainly wouldn't be in his favor. So I think he stays where he is. He chased Aldo. He chased Pettis right out of this division. He's got to go get Alexander. Third time's the charm. Again, he's going to have to figure out how to defend Alexander, because again, when he can just stand in there and do his thing, Holloway's a beast. But if you got to worry about takedowns and kicks, and it's a whole different ball game, this is the Holloway you want to see. I'm not sure again if he's gonna have what it takes to take out Alexander. But to me, that's got to be the fight now.
No, yeah, I mean, Holloway dominated 447 total strikes to Kattar's 134. Kattar had 2 takedown attempts. Holloway stuffed him. 445 significant strikes from Holloway. He was a beast. I would love to see him go up. I mean, we talked about the fight that just got announced. Well, the fight that just got announced with Volkanovski and Ortega. If Volkanovski wins that again, I don't see a trilogy. Volkanovski's come out. It's already favorite 2 wins for Volkanovski.
They were close. They were close fights.
They were close, yeah. But
make the argument he won one of those. I wouldn't.
I think to keep
could argue that. Yeah.
Ortega had to win that fight, though. To keep Max.
And you're ruining Ortega, though. You're Max, you're ruining Ortega. And you move up, you make life really hard on yourself. Yeah, I say you root for Ortega here and the trilogy if he doesn't pull it out.
Most of the guys at lightweight have beaten Holloway. So yeah. I just don't think that's where he wants to go. I don't think he's going to find any real favorable matchups. So I think he's got to stay here. Again, hope for Ortega. You'd love the Ortega fight again if you're Holloway, but if you got to go beat Alexander the Great, do it. And if you don't, then maybe reassess. But until then, that's got to be the fight.
All right. And what did you guys think of UFC on ABC? What did you think of that, Jared? This is the first fight, prime time, 3. I think the main card started at 3.
Yeah, good for fight sports, good for combat sports altogether. Getting on those premier channels, that's where we want to be. Here I am bringing it up again, but this is what I've said for Scrub Scraps, that if you put fights that are entertaining, short, entertaining, local, people people would watch it. We'd watch it. And here we are now with those aren't always the most interesting fights. Some of them take 45 minutes, and then it's not the guy we thought won. So it's a little bit of a different breed, and we're already making those steps with some of these, the Tyson and the Paul brothers. I know you guys feel differently about that stuff than I do, but we're already making some of the steps into. I mean, that's an NFL time slot they went in.
Yeah,
that's good for combat sports.
I'll point out that NBC used to carry boxing on TV when I was a kid. Saturday afternoon fights, man. I mean, that's what we did. That was free fights when they started being $50 a pop. We stopped watching all the big fights.
Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, and Duran, those guys all fought each other on that wide world of sports.
Amazing fights. That's where I developed my love of boxing. And again, I think for UFC, what a great fight. And I told you it was going to be a great fight. 2 bangers, 5 rounds. Again, I joked it could be 1,000 strikes. That's what the people want to see. My brother just texted me, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Saturday, you know what I'm saying, dude? That's where it was at. If you want to overtake boxing and wrestling as like the combat sport, I mean, I think this is the route to take. You got to put great fights on. And I'll say this about Dana, he's done a really good job of that. Of putting this was a smart card. It was very appealing to the casual fan, and that's who you need to attract.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for that, Tony. Shout out to Ray Brand, our Boom Boom from Scrub Scraps.
By the way, let me just ask the question because I think it needs to be asked. We've talked about this before, but Calvin Kattar is getting his face beat in, absorbing record amounts of strikes to his face. Before the 4th round, you all may recall, and Jared and I locked eyes and laughed when it happened. They were like, go for a takedown. Like they were desperately pleading with him to try to take Max down. Again, the thing that undermined him in the fight against Volkanovski was the fear of the takedown. And Kattar I'm going to just lead with my face. No.
well,
use the Brazilian jiu-jitsu to bring him to the ground. Why?
So now
I'm
that
so
Khabib
tired of watching
is
that
no
nonsense.
longer
Though.
in the lightweight division, you don't see Holloway going up. Now he doesn't have a Khabib.
No, I
to worry
don't like
about the
it at
takedown.
all. Hey, and Joe, what you're talking about with Qatar, man, I related it yesterday to somebody standing in line and trying to use cards, but they have no money, and all their cards are getting declined. And they're like, try this one again. Try this one again. It's like the card thing is not working, Qatar. It's not working. Do they take Bitcoin? Do you have cash? Is there any change in your car? Come up with another way to pay for this stuff or get the hell out of the line. Run this card one more time. It's not going to work this time either, my friend. Yeah, and he did just keep walking through punches and figured, I'm going to hurt his hands with my face.
It's a good
Eventually,
strategy.
his hands will wear down, and I'll take over from there.
That's great.
That was a great fight, too. Phil says top 10 all day. All day. We'll get to the end of the year. That'll probably still be a top 10 fight, I think.
I think Bisping said it was the greatest fight he had ever seen in recent history.
Spectacular.
That's big.
That's recent history is a little relative.
Bango. Love it.
All right. But we have a great, great fight tonight with Poirier versus Conor McGregor, UFC 257. Jared, how do you feel going into this fight?
I think it was Tony yesterday saying this was like a sprinter and a marathon runner. If you believe McGregor can get to him and knock him out like he did the first time in the first couple rounds, but once you hit the end of the third, beginning of the fourth, those championship rounds, you kind of got to dust it. And I don't like it to get that far. I think when you've got that level of skill difference, there was something we called at will when we were kids. It meant I can win whenever I want to win. At will. That I can do these things to you because I'm that much better, and no matter what, something you'd say to your little brother. You won because I didn't care about it today. This is an at-will skill for me. And I believe that for McGregor. He's going to be the more skilled fighter. And when they start trading, he's that much quicker. That Jose Aldo fight, this could end up ending quickly for McGregor. The thing I worry about is the layoffs. He hasn't been as active as I would like my upper echelon fighters to be. So, it's a fight. Anything could happen.
You're a very psychological guy, Jared. With the stuff that happened with Conor McGregor that kept him out of the game, like punching the guy at the bar, flashing someone at a restaurant or whatever, at a club. So, how is that going to weigh into today's fights? I mean, you said it could be over quick, but I mean, he's still got that somewhere in the back of his mind, McGregor.
When Conor's penis takes his mask off, you can catch more than COVID-19. It's all a distraction, and sooner or later, Apollo Creed loses. Tony, Conor in 10 seconds. Or Poirier by decision. Yeah, exactly. It's the sprinter versus the marathoner. But the I'm doing all the commercials. I'm getting all the limelight. I keep saying you have to do some of that to promote yourself in boxing. But at the same time, there's a trade-off. You can't always be doing these publicity stunts or, let's face it, stupid things and be so hyper-focused on all of that stuff and then still get up for fights, still have enough, you only have a certain amount of energy as a human being that you're able to pump out into the world. So if that's what your focus is on, you've got to make the sacrifice somewhere else. And if the sacrifice is fighting, and he's going to have a problem. And I've always thought that will catch up with Conor sooner or later. Right now, he's got the skill level to make up for it, a la Chad Dawson, sooner or later, it will catch up with him.
All right.
And he'll have to adjust. He'll have to grow into a new Conor McGregor if he's going to win fights.
Okay. All right. Joe, how do you see this fight playing out tonight?
Well, let me bounce some things off you first.
Okay.
Since 2017, Dustin is 6-1. Conor is 1-1. He hasn't fought a fight at lightweight since 2016. It's literally the only fight that he's ever won in that division. Yeah, seriously. Dustin's gone 3 rounds or more 13 times in his career. He's 9-4 in those fights. Conor, by the way, has never had a knockout or stoppage past round 2. Obviously, Conor's boxing is revered in the sport, so much so he thinks he could do it in an actual ring. And crazy time. I'm telling you, Portugal's a beautiful place. I don't know that spending 10 weeks in Portugal is going to do enough to your stamina that you're going to be able to survive 5 rounds with Dustin Poirier. That said, Dustin's only 2 career knockouts are both first rounders, both lefties, obviously one being Conor, the other being Michael Johnson.
The sprinter?
Yeah, the sprinter. That does concern me. Put it to you like this, though. All 4 of Conor's losses are by submission. Poirier has 7 submission wins. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I would say, like my brother said, if he doesn't knock him out in the first round, I will expect Poirier to have a stoppage somewhere in the 5th round, possibly a chokeout, because if there's one thing that makes Conor a total bitch, it's when you get your arms around his throat, dude freaks out and he taps quick. So I do see it going that way. I think the layoff is too much. I think Poirier's so much better a fighter than he was in 2014 when he was still learning the game. Since then, all he has done is dominate that division. He's got a knockout, by the way, of Justin Gaethje in the 4th round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a beast.
That's right. In the 4th round,
That's not
in
fair.
the 4th
I don't know
round,
if
he's going to
that's
still
fair.
have the power and stamina to put Conor out, who, again, despite 10 weeks in Portugal, by the 3rd round, you're going to see the notorious one doing this. Because that's where it's going to be. That's what all of his fights that go the distance are. He barely hangs on and survives. I don't see it happening. I think Poirier is going to take him out late.
Okay, in the last decade, over 10 years, Joe. In the last day, you say all 4 of his submission losses are by submission. Okay, 2 of those are over a decade ago. Let's agree that this is a different Conor McGregor than it was a decade ago.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, who are the 2 fighters that submitted him?
He's fought twice, and I mean, it's hard to even get
Who
you
are
say a
those 2
decade.
losses?
What else am I going to go off of? What else am I going to go off of?
So inside the last 10 years, there's only 2 losses by submission instead of 4. Who are those 2 losses?
Nate Diaz.
And Khabib.
And Khabib. You're not telling me those guys have better submission skills than Dustin Poirier?
They do. No, I would compare him to Nate
Better?
Diaz.
Better, yes.
Not much better than
yes.
Nate Diaz, though.
Better, yes, but don't.
Similar
I mean,
to
again,
Diaz.
I've seen. Did anybody watch Poirier's fight with Dan Hooker? Dude,
Yeah.
he had Hooker in a guillotine a few different times. Now, Dan Hooker has tremendous ground, like a tremendous defense. He's really good at that. Is Conor? Yeah, think about that. Does Conor have good defense?
No, he doesn't.
So there you go.
No.
Any question that you have, the only problem Poirier's going to have is if he thinks he's got to go in there and knock this dude out. If he wants to go in there and he wants to do what Khabib did, I think it's doable for Poirier. Conor's going to expend all his energy in the first 5 minutes of this fight. And then it's Poirier. It's Poirier. You'll see. You'll see.
I don't necessarily know.
Dude, The war he
war.
just had with Dan Hooker. I'm telling you right now, boy, what a fight that was. If anybody hasn't seen that fight, knock yourself out. Man, a bloodbath.
It's going to be, I think this is going to, I don't necessarily know if it's going to eclipse Holloway's fight, but this is going to be one hell of a fight. McGregor versus Poirier. They're going to go at it. I have Poirier coming out ahead. I do feel like they're going to go at it for rounds. And in those later rounds, 4th, 5th round, Poirier is either going to put it away with a submission or a knockout. I mean, he's just been active. He's done very, very well, Poirier. He's a beast. He can eat strikes. He's hung in there and beat some of the best. Like, Poirier, the Khabib is Khabib. Khabib's Khabib, so that's obviously an outlier. Poirier whooped Max Holloway. Conor McGregor took advantage of a younger Max Holloway when they fought. I mean, Poirier, he demolished Gaethje. That was a fun fight. I just like where Poirier's at. I liked how he matched up with Khabib. I think he's just going to beat McGregor, but for the first couple rounds, they're going to go at one another.
I'm really looking forward to this. That's 3 weeks in a row that we had 2 against 1. The first one was Tony Ferguson. I couldn't have been more right. Then Max Holloway. I couldn't have been more wrong. And now I've got Conor, and you two both have Poirier.
No, I mean, Conor can do, Conor will.
Oh, you want to pick both of them?
No, I'm not. I'm saying if Conor needs to win, he needs to do something smart. It needs to be, like you said, Aldo-esque, but you can't put Dustin away like that.
Hold on. Did anybody watch the press conference on Thursday where Conor's acting like a classy, sophisticated, like, oh, I'm just glad to be here talking to the other fine gentlemen. Like, all right, buddy, I don't know who slipped you the meds, right, in your mimosa, but okay, fine. Fact of the matter is, he's been inactive, right?
Yeah.
And his plan was, up until Thursday, was, I'm going to knock out Dustin in the first round. Thursday, he was like, well, maybe we'll put on a 5-round. Like, now he's kind of resigned to the fact that maybe I can't knock this dude out in the first. And he's been talking a lot about the training in Portugal, and I spent 10 weeks getting in shape. Bro, you've been destroying your body for years. You think 10 weeks in Let me ask you guys a question. Is the answer to any question ever been 10 weeks in Portugal?
No.
I mean, right? Has any great champion ever gone to Portugal for 10 weeks and won some amazing fight where you were like, oh, everybody should be spending 10 weeks in Portugal? Obviously, the mountainous altitude's good for the endurance and what? I don't even understand this. I mean, I understand how much
the answer to what the name of Conor's next documentary is.
There you
10
go.
weeks in Portugal.
Perfect.
I don't know why not.
That's very good. That's if he wins the fight, it'll make an excellent documentary. I just to hear him talk at the press conference, it's clear he's sort of backing off. And again, I don't know if he's like, I'm going to trick Khabib into thinking that if I act normal, that he'll come back. Khabib doesn't want to fight you. You're not good enough.
I love that you brought that up, Joe. That leads us to the who you got. Who has the best shot to impress Khabib? Last week during the press conference, Khabib said something spectacular. That's what he said. Something big, something desirable to him needs to happen for him to come out of retirement and put his belt on the line. Jared, who has the best shot to impress Khabib? Who has the best opportunity to draw Khabib into a fight?
I don't think either of them. It's too relative. That's too abstract. I don't like it. I think this was a publicity stunt. The best shot to impress Khabib. Hey, I also want to say, Jace, you need help with these who you gots, man. I mean, I got some ideas. This is
You don't think any one of them, McGregor goes out there and gets a 3-second win, that's not going to impress Khabib out of retirement?
They're fighting his mom. God. They're both fighting his mom. This is just to impress him. Conor could knock him out in that 10 seconds like Tony said, and he could be like, that wasn't very impressive. He's probably, Dustin has lost it. I wouldn't qualify that as spectacular. They could break the record for punches thrown and go 5 rounds and have a Holloway Kattar fight, and he would be like, well, nobody really stood out to me. It doesn't have to be spectacular. Why'd you leave it open like that? Hey, if Conor knocks this guy out in the first round, I'll fight him. Tell me that. That's an announcement. This isn't an announcement. Oh, if I see something spectacular, what? Rainbows? A unicorn jumps out of Khabib's like when Conor, Conor pulls his penis out during the fight. What is spectacular? Tell me what spectacular is.
What if Conor wins and then gets on the mic and says some stuff? That history's there. I mean,
okay, stop.
Jumped out of the cage.
Okay, stop.
First of all, the only thing worse than this take is your internet. The word spectacular is the most subjective, bland term I've ever heard in my life. Dude, Conor could land a spinning Superman punch with his dick. And Khabib could literally just yawn and be like, I've seen it. So let me refer you to his actual words. And in the spirit of just insulting more ethnicities, I'll do my Khabib impression. He said, come on, you don't push me to do things that will disappoint my mother. Don't torment me. Let me enjoy what I have for today. Do you understand that? Jace, do you understand that? Dana sees money on the table with fights with Khabib. And Dana hates money on the table. Dana wants to get all the money. And Khabib isn't really interested in that. It's why it's not going to happen. Until his mom dies, and unless Dana's planning on killing his mother, he's just going to listen to this woman. You're going to have some real Norman Bates kind of stuff going here. Mother, right?
Oh, geez.
I'm sorry to say, but it's not going to happen.
Joe, you're on fire.
Okay.
It's just, I mean, I wish Jace could understand. Do yourself a favor and I mean, read up on Khabib Nurmagomedov.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying. Okay, maybe
he's a man of very devout convictions and beliefs.
Oh yeah.
When he promises mother, dude, he's not. What's he gonna say to his mom? And mother, I was talking and I was watching on the TV. Conor McGregor said that he needs me to fight or I am pussy. And she's going to be like, well, then you should do it, son. No, that's not how this works.
No,
and the more they antagonize him, the more they try to put words into his mouth, the dumber they're going to look.
The less we'll hear from him, too.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's a sad, sad thing.
So, hold on. Let's just change it up. Who is going to be the fighter? Let's throw Khabib out of it completely. Who is going to be the fighter of the night? The whole card, anything. Poirier, McGregor, Jared. Who is going to have the best performance tonight? Who's going to be the fighter to watch?
Kick it to you, Joe. Give me a second.
All right, let me I want to address the other fight anyway, because I think it's going to end up being the better fight of the night.
Oh, yeah.
I really do. And I know, Jace, you were crazy about Michael Chandler, who I must admit I'm not much of a Bellator follower, and so I went and watched this stuff, and I got to tell you, I have no idea what you're talking about. This guy hasn't beaten anybody of note. Benson Henderson twice. He seems to have Benson Henderson's number. He beat Eddie Alvarez, Patricio Ferrer, and Brent Primus. He's also lost to Eddie Alvarez, Patricio Ferrer, and Brent Primus by knockout, by the way, all those guys. Chandler lost twice to Will Brooks, once by knockout. Does anybody know the name Will Brooks until I literally just said it right now? Have you ever heard of that guy before? You probably haven't. Chandler's got a 500 record against better-known fighters, and most of those are against Benson Henderson. Okay, most of his losses are knockouts. Hooker's the real deal, man. This kid's great. I'm telling you, the fight against Poirier, you saw everything you needed to see from Dan Hooker, boy. He's big, he's tall, he's long, 10 knockouts, 7 submissions, only been knocked out once, Edson Barboza. He got submitted early to some nobody early in his career. Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This guy's a beast. First round knockouts over Al Iaquinta, Paul Felder. He knocked out Jim Miller in the first round. Okay. The losses that Hooker has, Poirier, Barboza, and Maximo Blanco. 4 of the 9 losses, by the way, were in his first 10 fights. He's gotten better and better. Kid's got a chin of steel. The knees are going to be what does it. That and his defense, he's fantastic. Hooker's going to do one of those big knees in the 5'8" Chandler's face, and he's going to put him out 3rd round knees. That's my guarantee.
Man, and I'm looking at this whole card, early prelims, main card. That's the one that popped off the page to me too, Hooker and Chandler. And I like Hooker as well. But to avoid saying the same thing you said, potential fight of the night, Jessica I's fighting Joanne Calderwood. These girls do not mind trading shots. I think I's got the better skill set. I'd take Jessica I. That's who I'll be rooting for. That's where I'll put my money. But man, Joanne Calderwood is she's fierce. Like, these are both really good fighters. Potential fight of the night. Don't mind mixing it up. If you're only there for the Conor fight, tune in 2 fights early. 3 fights early. Catch that Hooker fight too. Hooker and Chandler, and that Jessica I fight. Take I over Calderwood.
The eyes have it.
Of the Storm.
By the way, both of those women fighting tonight have lost to Valentina Shevchenko. Just wanted
Yeah,
to
well, I saw an argument the other day saying that without Shevchenko, that weight division shouldn't even exist. Like, that everything else there is, if she goes up, you could kind of throw it out. You'd be hard pressed to, if this is the best we had. These girls love mixing it up and may put on a fight of the night, but if this is the best you've got outside of Shevchenko, we have a problem, because she'll smash either one of these girls.
Yeah, matter of fact, I took a head kick finish to Shevchenko. Epic. I feel like
there we go. That was a great head kick from Shevchenko. That was one of the knockouts of the one of the greatest knockouts of all time. But let's talk a little bit more about this fight. I like Hooker. Hooker's just going to dominate. I think he's going to run past Michael Chandler. I think this is a similar situation to Ben Askren. You stayed outside of the UFC too long. He might get some good fights after this fight. But this is a bad debut. Hooker, I mean, he's got every tool in the toolbox to match up well with Chandler. Chandler's going to look to take him down. I mean, and Hooker might hit him with a knee coming in. Or, I mean, Hooker's submission game is on point as well. So even when Chandler gets to the ground, I don't think he can beat him up all that much before Hooker gets the submission. So I like Hooker. He's just going to dominate, beat the crap out of Michael Chandler. Maybe down the line we can do like a Chandler versus Askren like fight. I guess the Bellator alum fight, but that's the only fight I see Chandler actually really competing in. I don't think he's at that top. He might do the same stuff that Khabib does. He matches up pretty well with his wrestling, but he's not going to get that fight ever.
Yeah, I mean, again, Hooker's takedown defense is exceptional, and again, his knees and Chandler's chin just seem like they're on a collision course. And you know, I tell you what, dude, he hit Poirier with a bunch of them, man. I mean, I that's why I'm telling you, if you watch the Hooker Poirier fight, you got to be like, dude, the diamond is like He's on another level right now, dude. There was so many strikes, so many knees in that fight where you're like, how is Dustin still on his feet? It was insane. And still was able to come back, still had the stamina to come back and end up beating Hooker. I mean, unbelievable, dude. So you're seeing, I think, the two best in the division tonight. And I think a lot of people are going to be sadly disappointed that one of those guys is not Conor McGregor right now.
No, Conor McGregor with the loss here. Where does McGregor go from here? Does he fight like a Gaethje, Jared?
No, he fights a Paul brother or a kangaroo or a giraffe or some shit. He just the narrative for Conor will be him winning and his opponents getting less and less a la Floyd and your boy Canelo.
That's
well, if there were something spectacular he could do, a Peruvian necktie or an omoplata might be about as spectacular as it could get. There's a twist.
I like that. I appreciate that. Yeah, Conor fights Manny Pacquiao for $100 million.
There you go. Shit.
That makes sense.
Yep.
All right. Okay,
and Conor loses that fight too.
So okay, if Poirier wins, where does he go from there? Does he go for Gaethje for the belt since Khabib's retired?
That would seem to be the fight for me. Right? Yeah, I think that would have to probably be the matchup. Although you could argue Barboza since, as I mentioned, Barboza has beaten him.
All right, so if McGregor loses, does he still get that Pacquiao $100 million fight?
Probably.
Yes, and they'll still be Conor fanboys that are gonna be like, he's gonna kick Pacquiao's ass. Nope, that's not happening either, people.
All right. Speaking of
dreaming, though, that's great. I applaud Conor McGregor's wishes. You know, if you know anything about the Conor McGregor story, where he was like an unemployed plumber, with a good left, and things have worked out for him. He's really built his career now off losing, so he's lost all his big fights.
Why stop now?
Right. And he's getting paid $100 million to do it. Listen, God bless Conor McGregor. Again, at the press conference, acting like a proper Irish gentleman. He was like, "Oh, I have so much respect for Dustin." Shut up. No, you don't. You hate his guts. You're a psychopath. Be that guy. I mean, again, to me, that was an act to try to convince Khabib that he won't throw a dolly through a bus window if Khabib comes back. That's
I still want to
dude.
know how the spinning back penis Superman would have worked, but
my understanding is Conor practiced that in Portugal at a bar.
Conor's Khabib's I've seen that before. So
all right, we're talking a lot about McGregor going back to boxing after this fight, but we got a big boxing announcement. Canelo will take on Yildirim in February 27th for his super middleweight titles. Jared, what do you think of how well do you think Canelo matches up with Yildirim?
What do you think, Jace? I want you guys to talk about this first. Not competitive?
Wow, this is the fight that I was talking about a couple months ago that nobody wanted to see. Canelo is on cruise control. He owns the super middleweight division. He gets to fight European trash. Not even the far eastern Europeans, he's fighting like the Western Europeans, like the Brits and the French. I mean, what is this? He clearly doesn't want any part of Triple G or the Charlo brothers at middleweight. He could go there. Deverachenko and Andrade. He could always go up. I mean, there's a lot of people he could be fighting. These are the fights that he wants to like protect his legacy. This is just more of that Mayweather nonsense that a lot of these idiots seem to subscribe to these days. Just not interested. Don't really care. He's obviously going to win this fight, and it's not going to impress anybody. You know who's not going to be impressed by this at all? Khabib. Khabib will not find this spectacular no matter what happens, because he's going to be like, oh, that guy is bum. What are you doing? Fight Triple G. That's 3 impressions of Khabib today.
You're welcome.
Be here all week.
Jace, man, I want the Fury here. You better bring some fire and fury, man. I'm getting upset. Because this is it. This is what I said. Oh, the Paul brothers, and we're angry. We're angry about these sanctioning bodies controlling the narrative.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Be angry with Canelo, because this is the top of the game, controlling the narrative. We get scrub scraps, and we get beginners and amateurs, and then professional, and then the greatest in the game, and he pulls bullshit like this?
Is it him?
How is that not more frustrating than a Paul brother? I expect it from a Paul brother. They're not the best fighters in the world. So go get your money. I expect it from Conor McGregor when you start to fall off and you can make $100 million fighting Pacquiao. I don't want it from Canelo Alvarez. It's infuriating. So as upset as you guys were about those sideshows controlling the narrative, be pissed off about Canelo Alvarez, please. He's one of those guys at the top of the game that we're talking about that does have something to prove. We know the Paul brothers don't belong there.
Yeah, you're right.
Ducking and weaving. This kid got knocked out by Chris Eubank Jr. Give me a break.
Tony's right. He's ducking all those guys. He's avoiding them.
All of those guys. But Turbiev, for sure, ran from light heavyweight. He's scared. I'll fight you, Canelo Alvarez.
And by the way, this is all him.
I'll fight you.
He fired Oscar. Remember that.
That's points, Canelo.
This is all him now.
This is all him. This is what he wants. This is what he wants his legacy to be. Knock yourself out.
Yeah. And we will talk more about that as that fight gets closer and closer. But now that Jared's all fired up, Jared, man, can you hit us with that flurry?
Everyone is the main character of their own story. For some reason, being the main character in our own story, we know that things are changing and shifting and adapting. We're adjusting all the time. But when other characters return to our story, we expect them to be the same character that left our story. And sometimes we struggle to allow them the room they need to grow and be the main character of their own ever-changing story. It's important that we give the people close to us this room to grow. Sometimes their growth is positive and other times the growth is negative, but our inability to allow the growth will present a negative dynamic, whether their growth is positive or negative. Let me give a couple examples of that growth and how the effect of that dynamic is negative either way. Let's say you have a little boy named Max. As a child, Max has all kinds of trouble walking. He always stumbles and falls, and the people closest to him get used to catching Max when he stumbles and keeping him from falling. But over time, Max learns to walk, and the people closest to him grabbing him every time he stumbles a little bit isn't helping anymore. It's actually causing more stumbling. This happens all the time in addiction. After 7+ years of sobriety, I still have people ask me, hey, Jared, you want to go get a drink? To those people, I haven't been allowed to grow into the person that I am today, and in their story, I still drink. And the dynamic of that relationship can only help keep me sick. But Max is experiencing positive growth, learning to walk, but being stifled by the people around him, creating a negative dynamic. This dynamic can be negative when the person is experiencing negative growth as well. Take the heroin addict, Tony. At his intervention, Tony's parents want to show me school pictures and report cards and tell me stories of a little soccer star. Tony is not that little soccer star. Tony is a heroin addict. And I have to explain to those parents that their inability to let Tony grow into the heroin addict that he is completely neutralizing their ability to help him. They want to help their little soccer star, and that eliminates their ability to help the heroin addict. The only way to avoid having a negative effect on Max or Tony, regardless of which direction they're headed, is to allow them to grow into the individuals they've actually become and see them for who they are now. To put this into terms that people watching the show might better understand, picture the trainers of Max Holloway and Tony Ferguson when they return to their respective gyms after their last fights. If you're working with Max Holloway, it's important to understand that he's not the same Max Holloway he once was. This Max Holloway is way more balanced where the other may have stumbled, and instead of catching him and walking with him, it's time to watch him run. Because he won't be able to do that if you're still trying to hold him up. You will only hold him up. If he is to be champion, the people closest to him need to allow him to grow into that champion. And if you're working with Tony Ferguson, it's important to understand that he's not the same Tony Ferguson he once was. The soccer star is gone, and the people closest to him need to allow him that growth, because if his trainers and handlers don't allow him to grow into what he truly is today, they might just have a hand in getting him killed out there. Thanks, guys.
Looking for a casual baseball podcast to listen to? Well, Baseball with the Bard, presented by Clovercrest Media, has just what you're looking for. Tyler Bard and Noah Cross cover a wide range of happenings in the MLB and then dive into a deep focus on the Red Sox and Yankees. Join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for your weekly dose of Baseball with the Bard.
All right. Thank you for that, Jared. And thank you guys for joining us for Throwing Jabs. Make sure you guys enjoy the fights. Big fight tonight. McGregor versus Poirier. Make sure you follow Throwing Jabs on all social media platforms, all podcast platforms. Make sure you check out clovercrestmedia.com for more information on more awesome podcasts, CMG Sports, and just normal podcasts, other podcasts. Make sure you check out clovercrestmedia.com for myself, Big Jace, Joe Aguirre, Jared Jones. Thank you guys for watching Throwing Jabs. Take care. Enjoy the fights.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our main event.